Alright, let's go again. Hi, afternoon. And this lecture I'm going to share with you is a ongoing discussion of what the current situation of design and technology is. It's something that I wanted to say and something that I wanted to conclude after 10 years of practicing in architecture and in design and in teaching. Deep in my heart, I think design and technology are very close to each other. And because we need to know the tools when we design. I mean, 100 years ago, we use a pen, or we use pen and paper to design, we hand drawn. And then 10 years ago, when I graduated, we have parametric design. And since then, we also have other stuff like building information modeling coming into the world, game engine, procedure modeling, and stuff like that. I mean, part of our understanding of the world in the design world is to how to recomprehend all the tools that are coming at us. What should we learn? Where is the future job, or where is the student of that's learning architecture today? What should they learn, and where would they be? That also include 3D printing, and also include gaming engine and stuff like that. So it's more like a dialogue, or more like my thinking. So we share with you some of my thinking of how we should behave in the future. So this series is called the YY lecture series, which is very imaginative. It's very, how to say, maybe put it this way, maybe 5 years later when we look back at this lecture, like, oh, this guy is completely off the hook. What is he thinking, man? Or like looking back and, oh, this is completely wrong. But it doesn't hurt us looking forward, trying to connect the dots. Although Steve Jobs said that we can only look back to connect the dots, but we need to look forward and we need to think ahead. That's what we as designers should do, or as human beings we should look forward, or we should try to connect the dots, or try to think where is the future, what should we do. And hence this lecture series called the YY series, Future of Design. So to start off, we have this attitude lah. So this lecture is a dialogue. Well, we wanted to see to imagine something that we cannot imagine. We must do the almost impossible, meaning we must do something that is very hard or very difficult at this moment. Like when we're doing parametric 10 years ago, it was very difficult. It was every script we need to rewrite on our own, and there's not enough tool, not enough support. But when we are doing that, we realize that something else already. Yeah. So imagination is very important at that point by doing the almost impossible. And I graduated about 10 years ago from National University of Singapore, NUS. And the first project we do actually tell me a lot about, or it define me as a designer, saying that technology and design are so close. In fact, if you want to be a good designer, you better know it well. What are the tools that are available to you? You better try to be innovative about how those tools come together. So let's look at the videos of this project. So this was done 10 years ago. Won a competition under ADAS, Hong Kong headquarters. The project is a railway speed project, high-speed train in Hong Kong, West Kowloon terminals. The complex geometry actually make the so-called plan and elevation ordained. It's just for representation sake, because no one is going to like measure the length of the panels or the length from the plan or elevation. Everything is 3D. Everything needs to be presented in 3D because everything is flowing or coming together in 3D. There's a very strong or very precise logic in all the geometry, meaning there's a setting out for all the shape. we created, from this project, we created the workflow or the processes that allow us to describe the geometry accurately. We started to write the logic instead of drawing directly. So before we draw, we actually talk about the logic, the structure in space and stuff like that, how the panels come together and stuff. So it's a very complex geometry in the sense everything is flying in space. There's setting out plane in space. There's no XY axis. It's like, as you might know, UV axis, much more than that and stuff like that. Yeah. So we also innovate in terms of workflow from parametric to BIM. We write our own script in Excel, and Excel into API, and the API into Revit family, and Revit family into tender drawings. And ultimately, this was the first project in Hong Kong that the government say it's a must to provide the BIM model, and hence a lot of workflow, a lot of processes was designed according to that. This project we have did the model for about 500 times, a very tight skyline, meaning like every week, even like during a meeting, the geometry can just change, meaning like the structure at some point, or there's some new requirement like fire safety, panels, like economics that we didn't aware of at the start when we designed. A lot of changes. We have a small team, but we are very innovative in the processes that we have. As I say, the tools, we pushes the tool to the boundary. In this time, it's parametric tool. We push the boundary of parametric tool to what it's supposed to do, and it was a success in the sense that we are very confident. In fact, to the confident that all the panels are in the right space in our architecture model when we submit our drawing. All the panels are accounted for to the all the warping, all the fire safety, all the structure are in the right place. And the structure model, in the stick model, we actually do a few new script that allow orientation in 3D spaces. We work with Bill Happel to work on the logic of this structure from Rhino GH, Python, and then Excel, and then Tekla, and then Revit, and then output drawing. So a lot of work processes in every steps lah, basically. So this project actually shows me, at least for this context of the lecture, actually tell me that we need to be creative with our tools. When I graduated at this 10 years ago and started this project with ADAS, it was a very messy moment. No one knows what to do with this project, as in, okay, we have a big problem here, we can't draw this. Like, okay, we won the competition, but we can't draw this. So I was there to try to figure out, okay, maybe we can use parametric tool. Let's draw the structure first. So I started off doing it, and step by step I realized that we can push this boundary to the max, and we actually replaced it. At that point in time, we are seriously considering hiring Gary Technology to do it, which was a firm that do the aero or airplane, cars. It started from CATIA lah, but it was Gary Technology make that into architecture. So 10 years ago, it was a very new thing, parametric. We pushed it to the boundary, and then there was Shanghai Tower, and then come the Beijing Bird Nest, all are parametric and stuff like that. So the story starts like this. I think firstly, that was a brief introduction about myself, where I come from, or at least from through a project, what my thinking is. Because of that project, it opened up my mind to think that, okay, designer are different. We don't need to be constrained to this thing only. We need to innovate through our tools. Right. Okay. So I think we go back to our heart, or go back to our thinking of what is design. Or when I started architecture, the word architect is so delirious to the heart that I think architect is actually affiliated to God, or architect of the world, or architect designer. I mean, they're creator. They give meaning to form. They give meaning to stuff, right? Such a powerful name, and that was expressed in a movie called Inception. And I think when I watched Inception, I was like, oh my gosh, that is a designer, that is an architect. So as you can see here, this is the architect. those who didn't saw the movie, it's actually a dream. Inception told of a dream world. People live in a dream, and you can actually enter people's dream. So the people are dreaming, there's a person called architect who designed this world. So she will design the rules, she will design the people inside, she will design the city. So in this case, she actually makes the city sort of flip over by its own and stuff like that. So as an architect watching this movie, I was like, wow, yeah, architect should be like this, or the idea of God should be like this, right? So that was a general feeling when I was watching the movie. I thought, wow, this was quite cool. If I can do this, it will be a real architect, right? Designer of dreams. So to start off the game, I think that is a real designer. And then when we watched Inception, 8 years ago, when I was teaching in CUHK, Chinese University of Hong Kong, with Dr. Mark, he coined a term called gamification of architecture. So when you design a game, you can ignore the function that needs. All those things are useless. When you design a game, you don't need function. Why do you need function? Why do you need? You just need to be cool. You don't need to be nice. You just need to be innovative, creative. Just need to feel good about it. Like that's how game for, right? Right? And you can create your world. So when we talk about game this day, we should look into Unreal Engine, which is a insanely powerful tools that I think designers should look into. This is one of the scenes that done by Unreal Engine. So all these are live, as in the car, the stuff. You can actually stop the scene and move people around. So it's like modeling in a game environment. So you can go in the game and you stop, you go there, you change. I want you to be a girl and stuff like that. Or, I mean, you can change whatever in the game, right? And that is design. So Unreal Engine is actually a very powerful platform. Or game engine, basically the idea of game engine is that it integrate gravity, it integrate a lot of scripts that you can use, sunlight, whatever, right? Like whatever you see in the real world, you can do it. And you look at the learning curve, yes, it's stiff, but look at this student who did this thing. This is created with all the access. Access is like parts, trees and leaves and stuff like that. You just put in the access. You can create it in a few hours. You can create the world. It's amazing. And you look at a lot of Unreal Engine user, they are creating content after content, worlds after worlds. Just go in and it's super nice. And in fact, on YouTube, there are people that create a whole environment, like the whole forest, in an hour. So in 1 hour, you can actually go into this endless forest, and it looks really real. It looks so real that it's just as good as an actual thing, or even better than the actual thing. And I think game engine is going into, I think we should look into design using game engine. So, and it's fast already. This day it's already so powerful and so fast. The rendering is quite powerful also. So 25%. So the game start like, okay, firstly I think the design should be like God. They should create worlds. Then you look at now the tools that we have. There is actually tools that allow us to design worlds. And with that, right, I mean architect, there are people who always told us about form follow function, follow material, follow needs. But when we create a game, all these things we just throw out of the window. We don't need this. We just need it to follow your own desire, your own imagination, follow your desire, right? So that is a very interesting aspect of design, which I think designer like myself, we need to be open up to this idea of let's generate something that's quite amazing. And that's where we came into FZD. FZD is a school in Singapore that allow people to draw. So it's called concept art. Concept art is basically like when you create like the Batman, or create scenes like Gumdor and stuff like that, or Worldcraft, right? You draw, right? You draw character, you draw scenes, you draw scenarios. Very creative. In fact, this school offer 1 year diploma that guarantee you can become a very good artist by drawing. Yeah, bamboo and Photoshop and drawing. It's different from your hand drawing with your brush, but it's a digital drawing and it's very fast. So on YouTube, the founder of FZD school actually have about like 100 over episode, each episode about 1 hour, that he start from a blank piece of paper all the way to this. all the way to this. And I think when I was teaching architecture, when I first saw the resource, damn, I think the students should learn it. I think the students should spend 1 year learning this skill, because it allows you to open your mind. You realize that your eyes see things very differently. His mind and his eye, when he react to different form, that kind of sensitivity, that is exactly what architect lacks. Skills of learning aesthetic, combining shadows, seeing, oh, I can combine New York with Hong Kong in this sense. We can put this together, make a scene. We can create a story. Because I think the best architect or best designer, they actually create a lifestyle of desire or a situation, an environment, a world. Like for example, WeWork or designer of company like Apples and stuff like that, design a world, design an atmosphere. I think those are very good designer, and drawing this kind of form, this kind of painting, allow you to break out of the box. The box is such a heavy box. Why should we be aligned with this material? Why should we only draw squares? Why should we do that? No longer. This allows us to be break free. So I think it's good that for the next generation of designer to learn this thing. Yeah. So let me see. So the next 40% is about VR. So in front is game engine, and then it's about drawing, making your creativity, and then the next thing is that is very powerful is virtual reality. Also there is also AR lah, augmented reality. So virtual reality, once again, I use a movie to sort of describe it. Ready Player One, which is a great movie, talking about a world where the real world and the virtual world merge together. I mean, this is the real world, and then the virtual world is where people live. Also, go into the virtual world, and then you meet people there. You go inside. You have like games there, but actually it feel as real as what is real life lah. So for those of you who have an Oculus and HTC, which is the virtual reality glasses, the first time when I have that in my brother's home, I actually play it overnight. I played like a non-stop 6 hour, like from 11 all the way to 5. It was so nice because I was so immersed in the game, and it was so fun because I was inside and fighting people. I couldn't stop. And I think the setup is that when you imagine when Steve Jobs created his iPhone, that is a very good experience. It sort of break all the experience, right? I think VR, yes, now is so difficult to set up, so expensive, but very soon, many people at this moment are thinking how to integrate this virtual world with the real world, and they're going to succeed, and they're going to success. I mean, they're going to make it because so many people, so many smart people are working on it. And what will happen is that suddenly, because the virtual content of this world is already much more than the real world already. There are probably 5 virtual New York that are so detailedly drawn, you can go inside. I mean, you want to draw real world or virtual world is so easy already. And then also, there's so many content that you can go into right now. So I think VR is actually a very good way of good thing to learn. Okay. And 50%, the future of designer, or I think the future designer would look like this. James Halliday, who is the creator of Oasis in Player One, the movie. So he is the one who created the world for people to live in. I think the architect should be like this, or rather you can imagine a scenario very soon that people go into a virtual world to explain the design. In fact, it's happening already, and we look at the technology now, from SketchUp and Enscape. It already have prescriptive tools that allow you to go inside and design. So let's look at this designer from also an architecture teacher. He have a lot of videos about all the nitty detail that he look into lah. So this video is about 10 minutes. So he teaches us how to use SketchUp, Viewer, in VR mode lah. So he have this HTC, and then he go inside, changes color, he changes color, he drag people around, and he can play around with it. So he's literally designing in VR, and that platform actually allowed the client and his fellow castmate to go inside the same space. So maybe in the near future we no longer need to design with a mouse. We can design inside this space. We can go inside, hey, this wall looks not nice, let's make it blue color, and then just make it blue color. So he's working it, like, it's a bit of struggle now, but very soon this kind of interface will be there. The interaction of, like, it will be like words, like it will be like instruction, I imagine, and then the space start changing. So that is design. You just need your imagination to design. Very soon you go into a space, hey, can I have a taller building, maybe it looks better, slimmer, right? All these are actually possible very soon. Yeah, so he's teaching us how to use, right? It's very interesting, I mean, looking, he doing all the technical stunt. Yeah, but ultimately it's also points that architecture or designer should learn the skill, or at least understand those and use those tools that are very avant-garde. 75%. Okay, here we are. We have the definition of design, which is like a god, which is really desirable from my point of view. We have the tools, game engine. We have the ability to create world by drawing and creativity. We should have that. And then we have VR, going into the world. And then we have parametric, procedure modeling, and AI. So what does this do? This video is great. So it just points to the fact that we no longer need to do the mending stuff, because a lot of things are being scripted. So this is a technical paper done to describe procedure modeling, which is like all the scripts here. But for us designer, what we need to know is that we just need to draw very basic form. So here you can see he's just drawing a box, and it will be out. Yeah, sketching session, he'll just sketch a box, and automatically you recognize the spaces, and you just generate all the windows, all those things that you need time to sort of spend time to sort of generate a sort of design. But now it just generated. You just like, hey, look Baroque, then you will be there. So I think there's a short video of how it looks like. Yeah, this is how the city looks like, procedural modeling. So he just actually just draw a bit, and then it's all come together. Look at that. So procedural modeling is actually a very powerful tool, both in City Engine and ESRI. Basically, those are procedural modeling platform that you can generate city like in the speed of second. In fact, a lot of urban planning community use that to sort of understanding the city. Okay. And there is this tool, parametric. So parametric to the max is like Houdini lah. Houdini is basically a tool that allows you to sort of generate like a lot of different options. It's very Grasshopper-ish, so it's like the Grasshopper basis and all the way up lah. So it's the most parametric 3D software out there, I think. And this guy is actually did one logic, and then with a few boxes, he actually generated the whole city. So this is the city he generated lah. So look at that. And as he's walking around, the city is actually being generated, as you can see here. Very amazing. So isn't this like Inception? You walk around and then start to generate city, right? So very fast. He integrated Unreal Engine with Houdini. One is generating, one is representation. Yep. So with that tools, actually you can see that when I was convincing my boss in Hong Kong ADAS to use parametric, I actually showed him how I did 400 staircase in like 5 minutes, 400 staircases. So just give me a plan. As long as the staircase are in the same layer, we just generate the staircase. So I did that, and he was very convinced that okay, let's try this thing. Yeah. So Houdini is the thing to go if you want to go parametric to the max. So 90%, a bit on what I think 3D printing can do as a designer. So you look at modern movement, all those concrete, steel, the building that are so boring, so-called boring now these days, by Le Corbusier and stuff. Basically points that we look slightly before them. There's Art Deco. Am I arguing that there's a digital deco era that's coming, which is this? This is generated by Michael Hansmeyer in ETH. He derived a method that generates this beautiful form, and he said it in a tech lecture. I met him in person in Tsinghua, that we have a workshop there. A very interesting person. So he described the folding of a paper in Processing, which is a JavaScript platform then. Now I think also available in Python. Yeah. So you can look at this form that he generated. Look at that, amazing. I mean, back to the point that form follow function. Where's the function? Just pure say, right? Just pure design. Yeah, this is very nice. I mean, from my perspective, I give him a very high ranking. He actually find a language of aesthetic by folding a paper in Processing, folding a box in Processing. So he described the process, which is amazing form with all this. Yeah. So imagine you are in the virtual world, you saw this form, and then you can live inside or go inside and have a party, and then, I feel I like this roof. Print it, 3D print it in your real life, make it your house roof, right? That could be done in the future, or that can be done actually now. Yeah. Okay. That's super cool. 100%. So with that, we have go through quite a few things. And I want to conclude by saying that this is a YY lecture. YY lecture meaning that all that I say can be nonsense like 10 years after that, maybe 10 years looking back, or this lecture. It's really funny. But anyway, no harm looking forward about design 100 years later from now. I think technology is supposed to make us free. We no longer to do the standard work. So you look at procedure modeling, you look at how many people we're spending on making like drawings or CAD. I mean, there's a complete waste of like manpower. I mean, yeah. So BIM, parametric, all this technology is supposed to make us more creative, right? It's both a very exciting thing and a very scary thing, because it cut down the manforce for what people do, right? But at the same time, you open a lot of doors. You can do a lot of other stuff that you actually closer to your heart, right? And then gaming is a representation of design. All your client workers meet online in virtual space. So maybe in the future we can meet online, meet on Zoom, and let's go into the hotel room that we designed last week, and like let's go inside and try the experience. And then if you like it, okay, press a button and we'll build it. Yeah, basically maybe, especially I think in big project we will do that. In big project, let's say your client is in America and then some designer like everywhere in the world, right? In fact, one of the project in Gary Tech, they have did that. I think 200-300 designer all over the world designing that building at the same time. So that is already a virtual act. Now I think the gaming engine allow us to go inside. Let's meet our client inside. Oh, I don't like this, change it. Okay, why don't we make this floor a 3 meter instead of like 2.8, right? Wow, it feel better. So things like this can be changed like click on a finger. And then gaming is important. Yeah, we should learn that creating worlds. We should be the architect that we think about. And if we like it, we come out, we print it. Yeah, as we like it, we come out and print it. And I think it's worth it to do investigation in experience, like Steve Jobs doing his fingers and iPhone. We should experience VR, and we should try to see how we can use that and design. And the last point to point out, because I'm an architect designer and I'm also an educator, I'm also a teacher in a university. So I think we should communicate what we think is right for the future generation of designer. So if I start a design school, I think we will teach this. We should teach FZD. We should teach them how to draw and how to be creative, how to create new worlds, how to become like really creative, like creating like scenarios. I mean, all the best architecture competition was done. I think FZD people can do the best Like it will probably beat hands down the Evolo drawing. For example, IDEO, we should do design thinking. Design thinking, go into the problem. We should go out. We should go outside on the field to look at hotel if we design hotel. We should interview people. That's how IDEO teaches design thinking lah. We should use Unreal Engine. We should design and we should experience. We should like what we do. We should not like do a rendering, like out here do rendering. We should learn Unreal Engine because it's fast. When you learn that skill, actually it's much faster than doing rendering. Yeah, we should learn from MIT and make a lab. We should hands-on. We should build. We should be creative, and we should make like how to say what is it called? We should make new creation and post it online to 众筹. What is that called? I can't remember. But actually, yeah, like, do a lot of those things because MIT is a design school. It's actually an architecture school, but they have like they create MIDI. MIDI is music, like digital music. They actually create digital music. Oh my gosh, they're architecture school. And then we should be like Hollywood. We should learn from Hollywood. We should all be movie makers. We should all 直播. We should all use and make movies. We should write stories, right? We should write. We should be creative. We should focus on that, right? We shouldn't focus on CD. We shouldn't do those. We should focus on the creative part. We should have fun. We should use Blender. Blender is a very powerful tool that allow people to sculpt, allow people to do creative stuff, and it's very close to the game industry. In fact, like movies like Avengers, the 众筹那个Avengers use that. Yeah, a lot of movie use those lah. Yeah, we should use 360-degree photos to do site survey. We should use new way of representation. We should use Tableau. Tableau is a tool. Tableau is a tool that allow you to use data to analyze. So it's actually one of the next to Excel. It's much better than Excel in terms of data visualization. Yeah, we should use ESRI, which is City Engine, to generate city. We should use VR. We should use parametric and BIM. But basically, those are the tools that a lot of people are learning already. We should use 3D printing, Houdini, which is generative. We should use Grasshopper. We should learn modeling, and we should use robot. So I think to create a school with this package would be such an exciting school that really look into design in its core, focus on design instead of focusing on becoming a CAD person to really just like do the mundane work. We should be creative. We should focus on those things. I mean, I think that is where we should go. And then if we learn all this skill, you come out, you can be anything. You can be a director. You can be a movie maker. You can be a game person. You can design cars, right? You can make a lot of stuff. Be creative. And lastly, that's my recheck, and I hope I didn't bore you with my thinking. This YY lecture is a thinking out loud lah, just my sharing of my ideas from. I have a very funny beginning from designing or making parametric models, like so many of them. It actually breaks my mind because the first project that I did was such an out of world project lah, WKTs. The rules are so different from normal architecture. That's why I'm here sharing with you things that are so weird. But I think it actually points to the future. Alright, so that's the lecture for this, and I hope you guys like it and we keep in touch.